This is Third Paradigm, and I'm Teresa Coraggio. Today I'm talking about something that I call the white sky blues. And my subtitle I've taken from my middle daughter, who said something I thought was perfect. The world is ending and it's never going to get better. I don't know if you've been feeling that these days, but I have. And a big part of it is the sky. Other people have been telling me they have the same thing going on. There's no sun. There's only blinding white that hurts your eyes, but gives no warmth, that's cold, that makes everything look gray. My oldest daughter, who works with bereavement counseling, says that it's maybe the opposite of the way that someone who is going through grief feels. They feel like they're black and white and that the world is in color, and it's such a horrible disconnect between those two. But I'm feeling like I'm still in color, but my world is in black and white. And that is something that I think we should be talking about, because I just have a feeling I'm not the only one. This week, I've been doing a lot of research for a future episode that I'm not ready to do yet. And it's on a topic that I call pedosadism, because I think the term pedophilia is a contradiction in terms. No one who loves children rapes them. We talk about Francophiles as people who love all things French, or bibliophiles as people who love books. This has nothing to do with love. This has to do with sadistic power. And the case that I'm going to be presenting is a particular one, and there are facts that I'm trying to put together that make me feel like I am wading through a cesspool, that I just am buried in such despair and trying to not get drugged down by all of the things that I'm finding out. So this has been my past week, and for 3 days, I didn't leave the house pretty much. I immersed myself in this research, and there was no reason to even go outside, because the outside was oppressive. The outside felt like a lid had been put onto the world, and that it feels claustrophobic to me. There are ways in which, I don't know if I can say this, but in ways it feels almost worse than my experience of the pandemic, because I had blue sky and I had dancer friends, and we couldn't dance in studios, so we danced outside, and we always were getting more sunshine than I've ever gotten in my life, because everyone could only be in a space that was outside. So this feels to me like the outside has now been taken from me. And I don't know if this is your experience, but for all 3 of my daughters, things have just been going wrong. Sometimes big things, but mainly it's little things. It's little bizarre things that just seem like they can't catch a break, that things just keep on feeling like, okay, this run of bad luck, it should be over by now, right? But then it isn't. And I don't know whether there are just forces in the universe that make things happen like that, but it certainly feels that way. It feels like, as my daughter said, the world is ending and it's never going to get better. And that was Such a great phrase because it made us start laughing about it and just adding up all of these things that are spinning out of control and recognizing that we're not alone in it, that there is just something weird going on. And it is this darkness that is creating chaos in the most bizarre ways. And I think that it helps to kind of recognize that this is what's going on right now for some reason. Then I went to visit my oldest daughter where there was sun, and I started immediately dumping all the things that I had been researching onto her. And she said, "Whoa, we need to go for a walk. We need to get you some food. We need to do something that isn't going to stay in this space, because once you get into that downward spiral, it just seems like everything keeps adding to it." And so that really was a wonderful thing and good advice. And yet, then after she left and I was frog sitting, I was doing a puzzle. I was listening to James Corbett talking about 9/11. Certainly nothing new, but definitely nothing cheery. And then I was listening to Matt Taibbi and Walter Kern, and they were talking about this new app that they're going to have in the newly soon-to-be deoccupied Ukraine. And on that app, you can apply for a mortgage and you can denounce your neighbor at the same time. And they're trying to figure out whether a dating app would be appropriate to put in there too, because surely that's coming, so that you can either have the date, and if you don't want to have another date, then denounce that person. So that was also not cheery. And then I was reading Glenn Greenwald, and I think I've missed some of the latest updates because he was talking about grief. And he has a beautiful post on how grief is something that you think is going to be the most intense right away, but it's not. It sneaks up on you. It's something that when life goes on and your loved one isn't, that is the hardest time to go through the sorrow and that missing of everything else going on without that person in it. And at the time, I was still hoping that he was talking about something old, even though it sounded very raw. And I had been following for the 8 months when his partner, his husband, has been very, very sick. And then I got to the phrase where he reads that the late partner of Glenn Greenwald, David Miranda, had been, and then talked about him in the past tense. And I started sobbing. It hit me so hard that David could be gone. And my sorrow is for Glenn, is for their kids, is for Brazil, is for the world. It feels so wrong. And so we are in a fragile time, people. It's a time we really need each other. I'll end with what my reading was today from A Course in Miracles, which is that salvation of the world depends on you. And I know I've talked about this before, but the world is in good hands because of that, because you are dependable. You are so competent. The fact that you're getting through the greatest psyops in all of history, there has never been the potential to gaslight an entire planet the way that's being done now. and you're getting through a day, a week, a year, the past 3 years, and keeping your sanity. That is competence, my friend. And so recognize how strong you are. The most ordinary things. Driving is such an intensely crazy thing to do if you actually were looking at it. And you do those things because you need to. We navigate such an insanely complex list of bureaucracy and stupid details and things that we're watching out, that our money isn't getting stolen, that our cards are not getting scammed, that everywhere we turn there's someone who's out to get us. And yet we figure it out. And we keep those around us safe, along with ourselves, and we keep them also sane. Don't blame anybody if they don't get it and they don't see the things that you see, because we're all doing the best that we can. And right now, the world needs you, and you're showing up for it. I can only follow this up with, are you ready to save the world? And meaning is all there is. Thank you for watching.